Alright, hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. In today's video, we are going to be going over the most common mistakes that you can do as a beginner Belo Betty player. So if you are a new Belo Betty player, this video is perfect for you. And if you are a intermediate or even expert level Belo Betty player, some of these things might still apply to you. Some mistakes that everyone can miss sometimes. Even I miss sometimes. So let's jump straight into the actual mistakes, and I'm going to show them off in an actual game. All right, so we're up against a Shanks here. Mulligan this hand because we are going second, and we want to make sure we have a turn one play. That's actually one of the first mistakes that people do, right? Is keeping a hand because they have all of these key pieces. But what you really need is to make sure you have a turn one play because we're on a very aggressive deck, right? So even though we have our a perfect turn two, we don't have a turn one play at all, which means this perfect turn two loses a little bit too much value. So we're not going to keep this hand. So we're going to mulligan. And at least with this hand, we have a turn one play, right? And we have a little longer to actually draw into our turn two play. And here's another mistake that I see a lot of Belo Betty players do, and that is countering the first swing. This is just kind of fundamentals in general, right? You don't usually counter the first swing. Especially in Belo Betty, where it's like, if you trigger something, you play so many triggers, right? And if you trigger something, you can basically instantly win a game from there. So definitely do not defend the first swing, like ever. Like, I don't care what matchup you're up against, don't defend the first swing. Because if you trigger, you turn the matchup in an instant. And here's another misplay that I see people do a lot. Since we didn't have forecast Ivankov here, the only thing we can do is really establish this Lindbergh. And what people do is that they boost here in this situation, right? But what would happen if you boost, right, is that you throw one card out of your hand and you swing 6k at Shanks, and he just throws a card to counter. Now you've gone 1 for 1 in hand, right? So a negative trade. But he's now he can now attack into your rested koala, which is like, now you're losing value because you're losing both board and you're not gaining any hand. Like, the trade is just poor, right? So don't boost unless you have enough value on the board. This means like a minimum of 2 swings, like an Ivankov on board, something along those lines. You don't want to boost if you don't have that. Another mistake that people do a lot is that they pitch like cards like 5-cost Ivankov because they are counterless. 5-cost Ivankov is one of the strongest cards in the deck, and it's something that's needed, especially for games that run a little bit longer. So having just 2 of them, even though they are bricks, is going to be infinitely better than like this 7-cost Sabo, or maybe even this Kuma in this matchup, right? Of course, I have the Hormone here, which is a pretty clear discard. But if I did not have this Hormone, like, I still would not discard this Ivankov here, because they are just that powerful. And another mistake people do is defending attacks when you're in a position to win next turn, right? If I think that I'm going to win this turn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap take all of these hits in hopes to just get a trigger, right? Because next turn I'm cooked either way. You just have to take these hits, and just like that, we have an extra body to swing with next turn. So just taking these hits changes the game so much, right? Because I'm in a position to push next turn either way. I won't be able to live one more turn, so I might as well just take all of those hits. Another mistake that people do is going too wide when they can instead go tall. Like, this Belo Betty at this moment is a 1000 beater. I would have to invest 4000 power into this to even make it swing, which just isn't strong enough, right? You're better off just leaving that sitting and swinging taller with your other characters. It's like a rule of like how much power a thing must have for it to actually have net positive power, all right, value to boost up, right? Like, if I had a 4k beater here, putting 1 Dawn on it is still good, right? Because I'd get value out of that. But if you have like a leader, a character that's like 3k, putting 2 Dawn on that is usually not worth it. At least not when you're pushing, right? In the early stages of the game, it could be worth it. but when pushing, it's just not worth it. So we're just gonna keep swinging tall here. Like you see, we keep swinging these 8s into this 4 life leader. And we're gonna do that again. And then just swinging these magic numbers is gonna be more powerful than swinging like up, 5, 4, 5, 5. Like, you rather go tall than go wide. Unless they have like a bunch of blockers and like no cards in hand. That's, it's situational, but don't boost your small weenie bodies if you have enough bodies to go tall instead. All right, so one final mistake that I didn't get to cover in that last game. This mistake is something that people do a ton of times, right? They play down the Karasu when pushing for lethal because they think that playing this down is going to be a strong play, right? But what happens, right? If Karasu gives -1,000 to your opponent's leader, and now I've just used 4 Dawn to give it -1,000, which basically makes, in fancier terms, right? This also means every swing that I have gets boosted by 1,000, right? That's like the theory, right? And using 4 Dawn to do this, it's only worth it if you have more than 4 swings. In this situation, I only have 3 swings. So using 4 Dawn to play this, it's not worth it. I could instead have attached a Dawn here, attached a Dawn here, attached 2 Dawn here, and gain basically 1,000 power on this play. So just playing down Karasu when pushing for lethal is only worth it if you have more than 4 swings. If you were to have an Ivankov on board while you do it, then of course do it, because then you're cheating it out for 0 Dawn, but still gaining power for your other swings. So of course that changes everything, but do not flat play Karasu when pushing for lethal unless you have more than 4 swings. And finally, we're going to be talking about some deck building mistakes that a lot of Belo Betty players do. This here is my deck. This to me is the best Belo Betty version, obviously, because I've built it. And I think it's the best for the meta at the moment. But this is not going to be what your deck list look like unless you copy straight from me. You can see some key important parts in this deck list that other deck lists might not have. And that brings us to our first common mistake of Belo Betty deck building, and that is playing way too many 2Ks. I run 7 2Ks, and I think if you're running more than 8, you're making a mistake. And I see people in Asia all the time. I see people on the Discords just run like 12 to 14 2Ks because that's the standard in other decks. But that is way too many 2Ks for Belo Betty. You're an aggro deck. You do not need that much defensive powers. 7 to 8 2Ks is enough. Don't put too many 2Ks into your deck. That is deck building mistake number 1. Deck building mistake number 2 is putting in cards that aren't Rev Army. Like if I search for Trigger here, right? Because what you usually do when you build Belo Betty is, right, you either go Rev Army or you go Trigger, as those are the targets for your leader ability. But now that we have so many good Rev Army cards, playing things like Cracker, Smoothie, where's he, Kikunojo, don't do that, all right? Because you will find yourself in a spot where it's like you have like no cards in hand and you need to top deck into a Rev Army so you can boost and then do things. But then you top deck into a non-Rev Army card with a trigger like Kikunojo, and then you just lose the game on the spot because you're not able to use your leader ability when having to push for lethal. So just don't stay away from non-Rev Army cards, especially this fucking guy. Don't play this guy. I know it's very tempting. It's a great card, but it's not only not a Rev Army card, it's also not a trigger card. So you can't boost this with leader ability. All right, there are just better options to play. I highly recommend you stick with a 100% Rev Army build. The third mistake that people do is that they play this card. This is a personal preference at the end of the day, but if you are a beginner and you get coming into the deck, I highly recommend not playing this card because the way this card works is it's like kind of Dawn, like it's not Dawn negative. Obviously, it's a very good card and it's a strong card. But compared to things like Inazuma, 9 out of 10 times, Inazuma is going to be better than Dragon. So I'd recommend staying away from this card in particular and just run 3 to 4 copies of Inazuma, and that should cover that right, like rush spot, right, the finishing spot in the deck. So I'd say stay away from this card. If you're a huge fan of Dragon and you like the playstyle, sure, but I recommend not playing Dragon. And then the final deck building mistake is actually going to be playing not enough spammers, right? We have 5-cost Ivankov right here, which is a, like when you play it, you play out a thing. And then 6-cost Koala, which practically does the same thing, just a little bit different. It just brings out another card. If you run like 2 of each like this, that is going to hurt your Lucci matchup something insanely. And not just your Lucci matchup, basically every matchup. Because if you don't see one of these on your 3rd turn, you literally just lose the game on the spot, because these are so important. Like the key cards in the deck are obviously the same. Like the core of the deck is going to be the same. And in my opinion, running a minimum of 6 of these combined is needed for the deck to function the way it's supposed to. So do not go below 6 of these. You can do it in whatever combination you want. You can do like 2 of the Ivankov and then 4 of the Koala. You know, this is fine. You can do this. But just make sure that you're running a minimum of 6 of the spammers. And while we're here, I think it's very worth to mention as well that race mags, in my opinion, should not be run alongside stage. Your deck should not be looking like this. All right, if your deck has like 4 of each of these, then you're doing something wrong, because they're really good on curve, right, on 1 Dawn, but we already have an incredibly strong turn 1 play in Belo Betty. So if you're running all of these, then you're gonna find out yourself flooded on 1 cost on turn 1 sometimes, which I know sounds insane, but these, you know, you're just gonna have to pick which one you prefer, and that's gonna be the best turn 1 play. Don't run all of these. Pick one, stick with that, and I'd recommend stage. I recommend running this, and you're good to go. And another mistake that I just forgot to go over real quick is that I need you to stop snap using your triggers. All right, if you see a trigger out of your life, don't just go, oh, boom, and smack it down instantly. All right, analyze the board state. Look at your hand. What does your hand say? Does your hand allow you to discard a card to play this card early? Do you need the on play effect in a later turn? A great example of this is this clip right here that I'm going to show you from a Chinoise Cup that I played a couple weeks ago, where I snap played a Kuma trigger just to realize that if I had kept that Kuma in my hand, I could have removed their chopper on curve perfectly. But since I didn't have the Kuma in hand, I actually lost a bunch of value. So just take a look at this clip. I also have no answer to this next turn, and I just don't have a play next turn. We'll take this. Okay, that's something. But this is obviously just Zoro. It's not Zoro, Chopper. Su Chopper. Let's hope he doesn't hit the nuts here. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I should have kept this Kuma in hand, actually. That was a misplay. Ay, ay, ay. I really wish I had kept that Kuma in hand now. I didn't think about that. Already misplaying. Alright, that is going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you want to see more content like this, or maybe you have some other mistakes that you see other players do very often, leave that down in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe as well if you want to see more content like this. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.